Come on, Annie. Let's go to the movies.
This is the Cinereelists, episode 585. My name is Kyle.
My name is James.
And my name is Zach.
And we're here to talk about movies, movie lists, and movie obsession for the next hour or so. Fasten your seatbelts, guys. We got movies to talk about.
Kyle's a new catchphrase.
No. I wasn't going to use it, but then Zach, before the show, said, wouldn't it be funny? So I thought, why not?
He was right. It was funny.
I actually do have a proposal for you guys based on last week's episode.
A proposal?
Okay.
Yeah. Well, so last week you guys did like your top 10 movies that start with the letter A,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
which was like vintage Cinerealists right there. Like just
That's what we thought too.
two guys in a room on a random list. But Zach, you brought up something interesting where you didn't include what would be your normal number one and number two. I can't remember what movies they were because you're like, oh, I talk about these all the time. Aladdin and something else.
Yeah.
So instead, I'm going to substitute other movies. And I was wondering if we want to make like a soft rule of when you're making a list, if there's like a top 50 movie that would be on that list, just don't include it. Just because we don't want to keep talking about the same movies over and over again. It doesn't have to be like, set in stone. Like you could not talk about these movies ever again. Like I know the Film Spotting podcast, they put movies in like the vault or something where they'll discuss
The Pantheon.
the Pantheon. That's what it's called. Thank you. They have their Pantheon and they'll just discuss a movie on an episode that's like The Godfather and then never talk about it again. I don't think we have to go that hard, but I don't know if
They
you guys
never talk about it again.
I mean, like when they make their list, they'll be like, normally I would have The Godfather here, but
After it's appeared on a top 5 list a number of times, it enters the Pantheon and then they just don't include it. In the top
correct,
5
exactly.
list.
Yeah.
Gotcha. I mean, I think people can do whatever they want with their own lists, but I will not be doing that.
All right. So Zach James is a nay.
I mean, if you guys want to do that, that's fine. I don't feel like I talk about the same movies over and over again. Do you guys feel like I talk about the same movies over and over again?
I guess we'll see on this list.
I guess so. I don't know. Yeah, I mean, I think generally if we're putting the same movies at the top of the list over and over again, then we need to get more creative with our lists.
Yeah.
That's the problem with doing like a top 10 comedy list is it will end up being whatever our favorite comedies were on our top 100, which is why we rarely do lists that are that broad. We like to hone them in enough that most of the favorites are eliminated anyway. So you have to dig a little deeper. At least that's my process when I start thinking about lists.
For this week, I really wish I had gone to bat harder for top 10 movies that feature a character without legs.
I kind of like that one too, because once you really start thinking about movies with characters without legs, there's quite a bit of them.
There's a fair amount.
And they're not all people without legs. They're just characters without
legs. And that can be very broad. What is a leg?
That's true. But in this movie, the only characters without legs are fairly minor characters.
The mermaids.
In this movie, the mermaids.
Ariel has legs.
Ariel does not have legs through half the movie.
Ursula doesn't have
has legs. Ursula does have legs.
She has tentacles.
Legs are not tentacles.
Well, she gets legs
for like 3 minutes.
Yeah.
I'm just saying the majority of the main characters in this film have legs.
No, get legs.
Sure. Well,
not have them through the whole movie.
Part of getting is having.
I think getting and having are two different things.
No, but if you get something, by definition, you now have them.
Okay.
But you didn't always have them.
That's true.
You only had them after they got them.
James, you have a job. You didn't always have a job.
This is true. I don't have a job right now.
So
self-employed.
Would you not include Lieutenant Dan from Forrest Gump on that list?
Yeah.
Because I mean, he has legs at the beginning, he gets new legs at the end, but for a good chunk of the movie, he doesn't have legs.
Are we discriminating against Lieutenant Dan, Zach?
Yeah, why are you so ableist?
I would never discriminate against Lieutenant Dan. I think where I line up is, where does the character end out at the end of the movie? Well, I walk out and that character is perpetually in the state that they're in at the end of the film, right? They live happily ever after from then on.
Right.
Ariel has legs for the rest of her life. She has legs. Ursula
is dead. As
she's
an
dead.
octopus thing.
We don't know what was going on down there.
No, I think we do see the tentacles all flailing around as she dies. Also, in the Little Mermaid canon, as shown in Little Mermaid 2, Ariel can turn back into a mermaid anytime she wants. She has best of both worlds.
So she doesn't have legs?
It depends what state. I mean, I don't know. At the end of the movie, she does. And then in the next one, she might be a mermaid again. Doesn't have legs anymore. And then she does have legs. And then she doesn't. Which one is it?
Yeah, you can change clothes whenever you want, but you still have the shirt that you wore yesterday.
Yes, because changing legs and changing a shirt.
Well, apparently for Ariel, it's very similar.
She doesn't set them on her bedside.
I haven't seen the film. I don't know where she puts the legs.
I haven't either.
I believe she goes to bed as a torso, and then in the morning wakes up and looks at the tail and the legs and attaches one like a pair of pants.
Okay.
And then
I can't think of much I'd like to watch less than Little Mermaid 2.
Oh, I probably will end up watching it sometime in the next year.
Well, you'll have to.
We showed our daughter Little Mermaid, the cartoon, for the first time this week.
Okay.
Nice.
And as soon as it finished, a promo came up for Little Mermaid 2 on Disney Plus, and she's like, "Let's watch that."
What did she think of Little Mermaid?
She liked it a ton.
Okay.
She loved it. Yeah.
A favorite character?
Totally. I'm trying to think. Let me get back to you on that.
Okay.
I don't remember exactly what her favorite part was.
Because you were playing your phone.
She thought Scuttle was very funny
anyway. So
she thought Scuttle was very funny.
Scuttle. Okay. Do you think she would like Scuttle in this version of Little Mermaid?
Probably.
Okay. How does she feel about mediocre rapping?
I don't think she's aware of rapping.
Okay. I think before she watches Little Mermaid 2023, you have to play for her, like, I don't know, a good slice of rap. Just, for like the last 30 years. So she has a baseline.
Who would you suggest?
Make sure she listens to a lot of Tupac. That way she knows like where the bar is.
Like Grandmaster Flash, throw that in there. I mean, obviously NWA, because she's going to love that.
And then some Will Smith, so she'll know what corporate rap sounds like.
And then MC Chris for the kids.
Sure. Yeah, that'll be enough. Maybe some Eminem.
What's a bad famous rapper?
A bad famous rapper?
Yeah.
Will Smith is not a good rapper.
It's not great. Maybe the guy who rapped on that Rebecca Black song Friday.
Yeah, I forget his name.
Not famous then.
I used to know his name.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, that's the best part of that song. So I don't know. You can.
I like Friday.
You like Friday in general?
The day, and I think that song is. I think that song's catchy.
I think.
Have you heard the remix?
Aren't there like 1,000 remixes?
No, like Rebecca Black is like a legitimate hyperpop artist now. And I
don't care for her new stuff.
She re-released Friday.
you like OG style. Rebecca Black? back before she was corporate, before she sold out,
when she was paying money instead of selling out.
All right. Enough chit-chatting. Let's get to the reason we're all here today, which is to discuss the live-action remake of The Little Mermaid. Before we do that, though, let's do a little bit of housekeeping. Don't forget, you can watch this podcast on YouTube. If you're listening to it right now on a podcast app, you can continue doing that too. But if you happen to be at a desktop and you want to pop open YouTube, go to youtube.com/Cinereelists, and you could watch us while you listen. You could subscribe there. We'd appreciate it. Also, you could find us on Patreon, patreon.com/Cinereelists, We appreciate all of our Patreon supporters. If you support us on Patreon, you get extra after show audio amongst other Cinereelist swag. So check that out. You could also leave us an Apple Podcast review. We'd appreciate that. Or send us an email to heyguys@cinereelists.com, REEL with an S on the end. Send a comment, a question, a list suggestion, a movie suggestion, any of those kinds of things. We appreciate receiving via email and will discuss on the podcast on a future episode. With all that being said, are you guys ready to talk The Little Mermaid?
Yes.
Okay. So much enthusiasm.
I'm so excited.
All right. Let's get to it right after this clip.
Oh no. Ah! Get off me, you fool!
Oh, hey. Didn't expect to find you here. And I really didn't expect to find her here.
Hey, you listen to me, bird. The king can never hear of this. We are going to forget this ever happened.
Ow!
Are you listening to me?
Yes,
You won't tell him, I won't tell him, and I will stay in one piece. You got it?
got it. Sorry, what'd you say again?
I'm a dead crab.
That was The Little Mermaid, a 2023 American musical fantasy film directed by Rob Marshall. This movie is based on Disney's The Little Mermaid, which is the animated version from the late 80s, I believe.
89?
Yeah, really late 80s. Which is also based on like a Hans Christian Andersen short story, I think.
Correct.
Where
Yeah.
Little Mermaid came from. The movie stars Halle Bailey, Jonah Hauer-King, Daveed Diggs, Awkwafina, Jacob Tremblay, Noma Dumezweni, Art Malik, Javier Bardem, and Melissa McCarthy, amongst others. And the official IMDb plot synopsis for The Little Mermaid 2023 is: a young mermaid makes a deal with a sea witch to trade her beautiful voice for human legs so she can discover the world above water and impress a prince. Was she trying to impress a prince?
No.
I don't
No,
think so either.
but
Um,
but Ursula brought the prince into the equation. As part of
sure,
the
I guess she
curse.
does have to impress the prince because she
Right.
needs to get that kiss. But that's not why she was doing it, I don't feel.
How do you guys think that summary compares to the cartoon's IMDb plot description?
Let's
Which
hear
is
it.
what?
A mermaid princess makes a Faustian bargain in an attempt to become human and win a prince's love.
See, that one is for the children.
I like that one better.
Guys, we
It's-
should have done top 10 Faustian bargains in movies or something like that.
No, honestly, that would have been a good
That
list,
would have been a really
right?
good list.
Yeah. Like making a deal with the devil,
Yeah.
basically.
Yeah.
Oh, missed opportunity.
Top 10 deals with the devil.
Mhm.
Too late.
So
Too
in
late.
they've made little plot changes between these two, and I'm sure we'll talk more about this. In the first one, is she more infatuated with the prince than in this one?
It's been a long time since I've
she's-
seen the original, so Zach.
I watched it 2 days ago.
Okay.
Right.
She's fairly infatuated with the prince. I mean, like in both movies, she has the statue that she's kind of obsessed with looking at.
Right.
So she's definitely into the prince, I think, in both movies.
Okay.
It was the statue actually the prince, or was it just the idea of a man?
I thought it
The
was a
prince.
statue of him. At least in the
So in the cartoon, it's absolutely him for his birthday, right?
Mhm.
It's like his birthday present.
Hmm.
In the second one, I think similar idea, same idea.
Gotcha.
they don't say quite
Um,
explicitly who the statue is of in the second one.
Right.
But she treats it as him.
We should say before we get started that this is a spoiler-filled review from moment one, because we assume that if you're listening to this, you have seen The Little Mermaid. It's probably been 20 years since you've seen the original Little Mermaid, but yeah, we're going to talk the original Little Mermaid. We're going to talk the remake. They're similar, and we're just going to assume that there's really not going to be a whole lot of surprises we could spoil anyway, because it's a Disney classic that everybody's already seen. So just
Why do
be
you
forewarned. We're going to talk spoilers. Yes, Kyle.
Why do you think our audience has mostly watched The Little Mermaid in like 2003?
In 2003?
You said if you've seen Little Mermaid, it's probably been 20 years. I'm just trying to figure out like
I'm just thinking
where you
like,
came from. We got 20 years from on a almost 40-year-old movie.
Yeah, James meant 35
exactly.
years, but
no, probably because my son was born in 98. And so by 2003-ish, he was like 5 years old. He was watching all that crap.
Oh, so since you saw it 20 years ago,
Yeah, I saw it 20 years ago.
then most likely everyone else
That was
saw
the
it.
last time I was likely to have needed to have
Okay.
seen Little Mermaid.
right. What Kyle's saying is, so you take your experience and you're universalizing it and say that's probably most people's
Yeah,
experience.
of course. Isn't that what most people do?
That's what you do, so I guess so.
I assume since I do it, everybody does it.
Yeah, exactly.
Right, that's how the world works, James.
Okay. What'd you guys think of The Little Mermaid, the remake? Maybe like first give us context for the first film.
Kyle?
So the first Little Mermaid is one of the first movies I saw in the theater. I don't think it's the first one, but it's definitely like, I'm sure single digits if you're looking at movies I saw in the theater and whatever number it was. So I saw it at a pretty young age. I was 6-ish when it came out. And I definitely don't hold it as in high esteem as in like Beauty and the Beast or Aladdin, but it still is a movie that I enjoyed and a movie that I've watched a couple of years ago with my son, the 89 version, not 20 years ago, but when he was kind of in that 4 or 5-year-old range, he liked it. So I've seen it recently-ish and enjoy it. I like the music from it a lot. I think the songs are really good. In middle school for French class, we learned how to sing Under the Sea in French.
Mhm.
And I could remember very little of that, but it was a positive memory. So I would say overall that I like The Little Mermaid. I think it's somewhere in my top 500, but it's definitely not top 100. So going into 2023 Little Mermaid, I'm not really keen on the Disney remakes. Admittedly, I have not seen most of them, but my understanding of them is that they're essentially a live action remake of a movie that was made 30 years ago. Not much has changed plot wise. Maybe they've updated a couple of things for 21st century sensibilities. They've thrown a couple new songs for the Oscar soundtrack. But other than that, it's the same movie, but now with live action actors instead of cartoon characters. And to me, and to a lot of people, it seems like a cash grab of like, we don't have any new ideas. Let's just make the exact same thing again and make millions of dollars off of it, which has been a successful formula for Disney. So I was definitely going in maybe prejudiced against this movie just as for existing, but tried to see it as an open mind. And I will say that as a standalone movie, if I was to look at this without the context of 1989 Little Mermaid, I think this movie was totally fine. I actually liked the casting. I thought, I'm going to butcher, it's Halle Bailey, correct? Okay,
Yeah.
thank you. I thought Halle Bailey was great. I liked her voice a lot. I thought that her speaking voice kind of sounded like Ariel 1989 also, which I don't know if that was intentional, but just like hearing her talk reminded me of 1989 Little Mermaid. I did not mind Daveed Diggs as Sebastian. I thought he grew on me. His performance was funny. Melissa McCarthy didn't bother me at all as Ursula. So as a whole, nothing about this movie bothered me. Maybe I got a little bored towards like the 2/3 mark, got a little long there. But with the context of 1989 Little Mermaid, I was just in the theater thinking like, why? What are we doing here? Like, there is nothing new or different or exciting about this story that I could not get from the exact same movie made 35 years ago. So to me, it's just kind of an exercise in futility and cynicism of that, hey, look, let's just crank this out again, make a bunch of money, and go from there. My son did prefer this version to the cartoon version because it's live action. So maybe that's who the market is for this. But
Kids.
well, I don't know. This movie's also 2 hours and 15 minutes long, which is pretty long for a kid movie compared to original Little Mermaid, which is like barely 90 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
So like, I do wonder how much of these movies are made for millennials and millennial parents taking their kids to this, and how much are these movies made for the kids. And I think they're trying to make it for both and maybe just failing at both.
I'll go next. I like this movie. I liked it back to 1989 when I saw it the first time. And fortunately, I mean, they basically just remade the one that they made in 1989. They added a few things that made it a little overlong and things like that, but the meat and bones of what's there is the first movie, and they didn't take too many chances with the extra stuff. Maybe the rap is like the biggest swing of the entire movie, and it's not even that big a swing as far as like trying to differentiate itself from the original. I mean, if you're going to make this movie, then that's probably, well, a best case scenario is you find some angle on it that like revitalizes or makes it interesting from a different angle. But if you can't do that, at least don't ruin the formula. And I think that's what they went with, is we're not going to ruin the formula. We're going to stick to why people like these movies and try to give you that, and maybe throw in a few things here or there that like aren't really that risky as far as ruining everything. And I didn't necessarily think any of those extra things were necessary, but they also didn't ruin it. So I was fine with it. I thought Halle Bailey was great. Daveed Diggs was awesome. Jacob Tremblay was barely there, I would say. I mean, if anybody got shafted in this movie, it was Flounder, probably.
Flounder, yeah.
I think
very little Flounder.
The less Flounder this movie, the better.
You guys were worried about Flounder's look, but in the movie itself, it was never a distraction.
It wasn't. I just don't think that Flounder translated very well from the cartoon to this live action one. Just because he's the most cartoony looking of all the cartoon animals.
Yeah. Aquafina as the what is that, a pelican?
Scuttle. No, she was some sort of diving
fish.
bird. I can't think what she's
bird,
called.
Yeah. Perfectly fine. Melissa McCarthy was fine too. If I had a gripe with Melissa McCarthy's character, it was just that in the dungeon scene, whatever she lives in, her lair, it was just so dark and like hard to see what was going on. And that sequence, I think, plays better in the cartoon, probably because they just can have a variation in color. Whereas like when you're trying to make a realistic dark underwater room, it just means everything's just kind of dark and hard to distinguish. So there were a couple times, especially in the underwater scenes, where I was like, this is just so much more vibrant in the cartoon than what we're seeing, because it's a cartoon with like flat colors, and they're trying to be realistic here. And the truth of the matter is, it's dark underwater in the ocean, and so
it's true.
You have to play tricks.
I've read that.
Yeah. So, but overall, I was like, this is Little Mermaid. Yep. I'm fine with it. I mean, this works so much better than The Lion King did, for sure. And The Lion King stuck to the formula too. It's just they didn't have any human characters. And since all of their main characters were animals, the expressions were lost. Yeah. And so with this one, you lost the expression from Flounder, but he was barely in it. And pretty much all the other characters you could get expressions from. I mean, if you compare the expressions of Sebastian in the cartoon versus this, there's a loss there too, but it was close enough that you just kept going with it. And yeah, I think these remakes with humans in them are the way to go compared to the Lion King way, which is like, oh, it's the same, but with less. I don't like that. So yeah, overall, don't really feel the need to say it needs to exist. But if it's going to exist, I'm okay with this existing. How about you, Zach?
Well, I am also okay with this existing. I actually, I clearly liked this movie a whole lot more than Kyle, and I'm assuming a lot more than James did, because I really enjoyed myself during this movie.
Okay.
And when we're talking about a reason to exist, so let me start back with my history with the original.
Mhm.
This Little Mermaid '89 was the first movie I saw in the movie theater. So it's always had kind of that fond place in my heart. And I do think of it as like one of the best Disney films, you know, like top 6, you know.
So it's number 6.
I don't know. I couldn't do the math necessarily. It's not top 3. It's, you know, but it's in there.
You can say like it's the bottom half of the top 10.
Yeah, top 6.
Okay, sure.
So I love the original. I've seen it a ton of times. So when we talk about like, does this movie have a reason to exist? Like, for me, it does, because I'm very familiar with the original. That original is always there. I went to go see this movie and I had a great time. I was thoroughly entertained. And so it gave me that. Like, that's all I ask for, you know.
Mhm.
If I went and it was just this limp noodle and I got nothing, I was like, you know, passively watching it, but I wasn't really enjoying myself, then it'd be like, why are we doing this, right? But it's a movie that could tell me the same story. I mean, it's a very, very similar plot wise.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of the same dialogue and lines and that kind of thing. They can give me the same kind of thing and I can still enjoy it quite a bit. Feels fresh.
Quite a bit refers to a significant amount.
Absolutely. And so I enjoyed watching this movie a lot, and I'm glad it exists. And you know, there were a couple things that were not as good as the original. Like, their interpretation of it was like embarrassingly bad, which I'll talk about.
Okay.
But there was a few things that were better than the original in how they handled things. So some of the things that I thought were better in how they handle it. One, I felt like we got to know more of Eric's personality. And then also we got to see things that they had in common that made me think that like they actually would have a good relationship together. That's not based solely off of like one is pretty and one sings well. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like he had his own room of like collectibles because he's curious about the world and he like collects things and that kind of stuff. So they like they share these like interests and like personality traits or whatever. So I thought that they gave us a little bit more there. Ariel, some of the details around like Ariel and Ursula's deal, they changed, and that kind of plays significantly in the plot. One, Ariel doesn't remember that she has to get a kiss.
So
In the cartoon, she knows it.
yes,
she
in the
knows.
cartoon she knows it.
Oh.
And in this one, Ursula gives her like amnesia about that specific part of it, and so she's not trying to kiss Eric,
Mm-hmm.
and that's a kind of a plot hole in the original, in that like she should have just kissed Eric, you know, that as soon as she saw him. But in this one, she's not gunning for that, and it's clear she's not gunning for that. She's just like enjoying the human world.
I thought in the original though it was still like a true love's kiss, or you have to be kissed, not you must kiss someone else. I thought there still had to be, you have to receive a kiss in the original.
It's not a receive, but it is a true love kiss.
Okay. So that means she still can't just go kiss someone, because that's technically a true love kiss.
Well, totally. But you can also see how she's not like trying to seduce Eric.
Okay.
Like she's just enjoying the human world and thinks this is kind of my new life. Right. She's not like, I have a 3-day deadline and I need to like speed things up.
Okay.
You know?
Yep.
And so I like that change. Also, she doesn't sign her name on the contract like in the original. She like takes a scale out of her tail.
Legs.
Tail. And that just makes sense. then we never have to think about it, the fact that like, oh, she knows how to write. And so she can just like write in the sand and tell Prince Eric exactly what, like what her name is and that kind of thing. So little things like that I thought were slight improvements.
I never thought that as a plot
casting-
hole. As
It always
Ariel could
bothered me
write.
about the first one.
Really, it did?
No.
Okay.
Never once thought about it.
I feel like Zach has read like those 40 things wrong with Little Mermaid 1989.
No. It's just you watch the movie. If you put yourself in the protagonist's shoes, right? Eventually she got shoes.
Fins.
And you start thinking like, if this was me, how would I get Eric to know things? And I would just get a pen and a paper. Right?
Does she wear shoes in the 89 version?
Oh, absolutely.
I thought she was barefoot the whole time.
The whole time?
I don't. Well, say this is Zach and your absolutes. Anytime someone says an absolute, you're like, oh, the absolutes.
Well, let's stay away from all. In my house, all or nothing language is banned. Okay, so yeah, I had a lot of fun with this movie. I enjoyed it a ton. The casting's great. Halle Bailey is awesome as Little Mermaid, especially. I mean, this sounds bad because she has a great voice and all that kind of, especially when she's Ariel and can't talk, because she comes across as so charming without saying a word, and that's hard to do. And she did an amazing job at that. You could see why Eric was falling in love with her, even though she can't talk, and she still had personality and all that kind of stuff. I thought Melissa McCarthy is like the best person on earth to play Ursula. She was great. Maybe rolling around on her back too much. That was a little overused, but yeah, I thought Daveed Diggs, I thought the casting was great. So yeah, I had a great time with this movie. I can talk more about it if you guys want.
What do you guys think of the new songs? There was like 3, I think. Prince Eric had a song. Ariel had a song in her head about gravity. And then
I liked how that was cool how she was singing a song. We still want to hear her sing, but she can't talk. Right.
So she's singing in her head. Yeah.
In her head, but then she'll switch to like a fantasy world where she's actually singing with her mouth. I thought that was cleverly done. I've never seen that in a movie before.
I didn't mind that song. Both Prince Eric's song and the actor's performance of that song was too much for me. Okay. Like the song itself was clunky, just lyrically. It didn't have like a nice melodic flow for me, so I wasn't really following it. And then how the actor, I don't know what his name was, how he was singing it, he was just like lunging at the camera the whole time. Like there's a lot of like chest out lunging as he was performing his song, and it felt very Broadway. I'm sure he does come from Broadway in that sense, but I think he could have maybe dialed down a little bit for his big number.
Well, yeah, I mean that was Little Mermaid's big innovation, wasn't it? Broadway, bringing Broadway to animation.
It was, but I think the animators still animated the characters like they were not in a Broadway show.
Sure,
and
too much chest out for you.
Well, I mean, just like a lot of big acting, like a lot of stage acting from him as he performing the song, even though he's in a movie. It just it was too much for me. And the song was
the song I got annoyed with the most while I was watching it was the Scuttlebutt song. But it was also the song that would randomly pop in my head over the course of the week, and I would like be singing to myself.
The rap song.
Yeah, Aquafina's song about like them getting engaged.
Does Aquafina? I thought she was like a comedy rapper before she was.
Yeah, like a really dirty one, right?
So why is she so bad at rapping? Like I thought that was her thing, or what is that her thing that she's a bad rapper?
Well, it's Scuttle.
Yeah, I don't think she ever claimed to be the best rapper.
I know.
I think she comedy raps, and they wanted that element in here. Also, Lin-Manuel Miranda like produced the movie, so I'm sure that has something to do with it.
Did rewrite some of the lyrics?
Did he write some of the lyrics?
He rewrote most of the songs and took out lyrics from most of the songs and changed lyrics.
Okay, so that was one change. Like the Kiss the Girl stuff was fine. Whatever. They made a change to it. It was unnecessary, but it didn't bother me.
It was kind of clever, actually.
Well, okay. I don't. The Kiss the Girl song originally, we're going to get into this whole like discussion that's been going on the internet forever. the Kiss the Girl song originally was never about Eric like forcing a kiss on Ariel. And then I feel like it's been misinterpreted in the last 10 years by certain people as Kiss the Girl being a anti-consent song, which it isn't. So then they threw in pro-consent language into the song, which is fine, but the song itself was never an anti-consent song in the first place. Like,
Okay, this is not the change that I thought you were talking about.
okay, okay, so what I'm saying is that there is some lyric about Sebastian being like, like, go ahead and ask her, and if the time is right, then you can kiss the girl, which she can't talk anyway, so there's no verbal consent happening. So so that was the change that I noticed, and it seemed like an unnecessary course correction. It didn't bother me, it didn't ruin the song, but I don't think the song was it's not like whatever that Christmas song that everyone talks about. Baby, it's cold outside.
Mm-hmm.
Gotcha. Okay, so the change I was talking about was at the very beginning when Sebastian, in the original, he's like wind, and in this one he said wings.
Oh,
and so it's like birds' wings making the noise that like set the tone for the song, and I thought that was pretty clever.
But what do you think about the consent of it, Zach?
I didn't pick up on that.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I probably haven't seen it enough to like. I knew the Scuttlebutt song wasn't in there. I knew the Prince Eric song, "The Rocks," was not there. But from what I understand, they like removed some songs too. But I don't remember those songs. So
They
I'm
took out
assuming-
Les Poissons, which disappointed me.
Oh, really?
Oh yeah, that's my favorite part of that whole movie, the original one.
Is it?
Yeah, when the chef is chasing Sebastian around and he's trying to like cook him essentially, and Sebastian's just dodging death for 3 minutes.
I think that was a very necessary adaptation decision, because otherwise you have live action animals just being like chopped up constantly in that song. Right? He's just throwing animals into pots.
It was probably offensive to French people too.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. I was fine to see it go.
Okay, so that actually is something interesting though. We do see Scuttle eat a fish in this movie.
Yeah.
So
and they justify it.
Can all fish talk, or just flounder and like
I think all.
what is the hierarchy of intelligence of animals in this world?
The bigger the fish, the more intelligent.
Well, the shark wasn't that intelligent.
Yeah, the
That
shark
was a
didn't
huge
talk.
fish. Are sharks
been.
fish?
Yeah,
Sharks
they're
are fish.
Okay.
Sharks are fish. They breathe underwater.
They're very
Sure.
old fish, but
Well, humans can breathe underwater.
No,
we
we
can't.
We can with the gear.
Yeah, we can. Okay, they can breathe unassisted underwater.
So with non-human gear, yeah.
I'm just saying we can breathe underwater. We've figured that out. Yeah, so I feel like whatever they cut, it wasn't a big deal to me as somebody who doesn't watch the movie on a regular basis or hasn't seen it in 20 years. So I think most people probably haven't seen it in 20 years, I imagine. I will say that my audience was way into this movie, and it was majority female, I would say.
Mhm.
Now, I went and saw it like at 9:00 on a Friday night. So maybe you get a different crowd during the day, more families than like younger people. Because I think average age was probably mid-20s in my theater. And I imagine people who grew up with the DVD of The Little Mermaid type of thing.
This is James trying to justify his 20 years ago statement. Like, yeah, a lot of
No.
25-year-olds there.
No, I'm just saying I was surprised at the at how into it the audience was.
Yeah.
And just the demographics of the audience. I just hadn't thought through who would be there. You know what I mean?
My audience was really into it too, but it was half parents, half little kids mostly.
Little kids. Sure.
And I would say a ton of people of color, like Black people at my theater.
Same here too.
Yeah.
Yep.
And again, I mean, this has been talked about ad nauseum, but I was really happy for them to have a main character that they could latch onto.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, I think
Yeah, I'm
my
happy
theater
that-
is same as yours, Zach. Just a lot of families, more diversity.
I'm happy about that too. And also, it's such a non-issue. It's like Halle Bailey was like perfectly good enough singer, just like the original Little Mermaid.
Oh, she was great.
And she was like charming and attractive. You know what I mean? This is what you need if you're going to do a live action version of this person or of this character. Absolutely. Anybody who made a big deal out of that is being ridiculous, obviously.
Well, it's still being made a big deal of. Have you guys seen how many 1-star reviews this movie has gotten?
On IMDb, yeah.
It's pretty much just being like decimated by these 1-star reviews of people that have to have ulterior motives, right? I mean, like if you've seen the movie, it doesn't inspire a 1-star review to that degree.
It has to be bots. Like it has such a disproportionate amount of 1-star reviews. I don't even think it's actually people clicking it. I think it's just program bots who are making accounts and giving it 1 star.
Sure.
Programmed by who? People?
Well, yeah, okay, yes, but like James, you could program how many bots to, like, it's not one person per bot. So that's my understanding is that you can automate things. I don't know. I'm not a programmer like you guys, so.
So do you think it's just like
I'm
one
not a
angry
programmer.
person?
No, I don't think it's one angry person, but I don't think it's tens of thousands of angry people giving a 1 star. I think it's maybe thousands of people giving a 1 star, or 5. I don't know.
Figuring out how to give a bunch
Yes,
of ones.
I'm just saying the amount of 1 stars is whatever. It's a disproportionate representation of this movie.
I agree with that. There might be 10,000 people who went and gave it a 1 star.
Maybe.
But
I don't know.
That's because they were highly motivated to give it a 1 star. Whereas your average person goes and sees a movie and doesn't think about giving it a star anywhere ever.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So there's, how many, I don't know if millions of people saw the movie. How much did it make?
For sure.
Do
It
you
made like
think
only like
over 1 million people saw it?
116 in the first weekend. It did okay for a Disney movie.
116 million. What's the average ticket price? Just trying to figure out how many people saw
I don't
the
know,
movie.
like $18, $20.
Right. So I don't know what that would be.
It's made 300 million worldwide so far.
And this is like week 3 now, correct?
So definitely millions of people have seen
Yes.
this.
Yeah. So if
Yeah.
like 20,000 people gave it 1 star on IMDb, who really gives a crap in the long run? In the bigger picture type of thing.
Well, and IMDb changed their algorithm for that movie anyway. So like if you look at its weighted, it's like 4 point something, and its unweighted is 7 point. It's a normal number.
When you guys like are researching a movie that you might want to watch, do you actually care about the IMDb rating?
Yeah, I reference it.
Interesting. Would it stop you from watching a movie?
If it's below a 5, I start to reconsider.
Yeah, especially a sci-fi movie.
Yeah.
If the concept sounds really interesting and then I go to IMDb and it's got a 4.5, I know that it had a good concept and like it was made for $100.
Yep.
Like had no execution of the good concept. Yep. Okay. Interesting. I
you
just,
can have a
I just
really
don't
good
use IMDb,
poster.
so I don't know how trustworthy that rating is.
I kind of like
And
Letterboxd.
it's great for TV as well.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, you could. The TV ratings really are stretched a lot wider than the movie ratings. So like good TV rises above and are in the 9s, whereas movies never get into the 9s. And then it goes episode by episode. And so if you want to find like the best episode of a season, it's very easy to do.
Yeah, I prefer the woke moralists over at Letterboxd for sure. They would not give this movie a 1 just to do it. They would
What did they do?
probably 3.4. That's my guess. Have not looked at it.
I'm just wondering if there's a ton of 1s.
No.
No,
doubt it.
Letterboxd does not really have review bombing yet, thankfully.
Well, that honestly, I think that the type of people that would give this a 1 based on like a racist idea or something like that haven't heard of Letterboxd.
That's what I'm saying.
I mean, I'm
Looks
sure
like
there are
they gave it a
racists on Letterboxd,
3.6 average on Letterboxd.
And yeah, there's no appreciable one stars or anything.
Yeah, how do I find out how many 1 stars there are?
You
Just hover over it.
Yeah, hover over the
There's
bar.
1,000
It's
half
like
stars.
so low I can't even hover it. There we go. Yeah. 1,000 half stars.
Out of how many ratings total?
It won't tell you that.
Yes, it will.
Where?
I don't know. I'm not looking at it. It should tell
I don't think
you.
it tells you that. It tells you
Okay.
how many people viewed it, but not how many people rated it.
Okay.
Okay, we're doing a lot of meta talking
Yep.
about the movie. Let me talk about more about the movie itself.
Sure.
Okay.
Please.
Things that I don't think it did as well as the original.
Okay.
The Under the Sea song had the same problem that the Beauty and the Beast remake had for me, in that in the cartoon version of both of those movies, in the Be My Guest scene and in the Under the Scene, there's so much animated action happening, right? And it's just it's effulsive. There's like so much chaotic energy and things, and we're constantly cutting between things, and it works so well in animation, but then in live action, it just loses so much of the charm for me. Now, the music wise, it was fine, and they even added a little like harmony from Little Mermaid, but but just visually, it felt a lot flatter for me than it did in the cartoon.
I wanted to see a fish playing a trombone, and I did not get that.
I would have loved to see a fish play a trombone.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Or an
but
octopus
my
band
favorite,
or something like that.
yeah.
Yeah.
But it did have my favorite line from the entire movie, just like the original. Life is the bubbles. That's a great line.
We got to say like life is the bubbles. Like he says it with such enthusiasm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's fantastic. The statue of Eric is very disappointing compared to the other statue.
Okay.
Is it because it's so dark, or because it's made of like a dark metal, so you can't really see what it is?
Well, it just doesn't look like him, and
Okay.
it's kind of like not a nice looking statue, whereas the other statue looks exactly like him. It's a very impressive statue, and it's embarrassing how like grand it is. Yeah. Okay, so maybe one of the most iconic images from the cartoon is when she's singing on the rock and then the waves crash
Yep.
behind her.
For sure.
And the way it was shot in this movie was so clunky.
It was awkward.
Megan and I looked at each other and laughed as she was like crawling up the
Oh
rock.
yeah.
And like
skittering up.
The music is swelling, and then the big crash happens, and we just look at each other and bust out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the timing was like a half second off from what it should have been. It was not good.
Yeah.
And then the end, how the end was handled was laughably bad, I thought.
Like how they're engaged, or what do you mean? Or the whole Ursula, what is it?
Triton, anytime Triton was out of the water.
Oh yeah, when he pops up, I forgot.
He pops up and he's like hanging at the boat talking to them, and he just looks so strange. As you know, Triton, played by Javier Bardem with his beard, and like he just looks so awkward. And then there's this one shot, it pans over, all of a sudden all the mer people are there, and the mer people look utterly ridiculous, like absolutely absurd. And we cut to like a lot of close-ups of different mer people, like the handicapped mer person and the Asian American mer person, and it was just like ridiculous. And they're all like models, and it was so silly. It was not a great note to end on.
Yeah,
but those are my really only complaints. The otherwise, I thought the movie was really fun, and I had a great time. The Ursula as a human was perfect casting.
I did like a big kaiju Ursula.
Oh, that
towards
yes,
the end.
that
was
nice.
good. That was a good sequence for sure.
Yeah.
Hey Zach, when we
I will
originally
say I
talked
was
about going
a little
to this
bored
movie,
as we were.
bored?
Yes, yeah, I was a little bored. Like around the time of like Kiss the Girl, the Scuttle Rap, that whole like when she's just been on land for felt like a long time, and they were just marking out time until we get to. Is it Victoria? What's the Ursula doppelganger that shows up? The human Ursula. I can't remember.
I don't remember her name.
Anyway,
Yeah.
like I just feel like we were just marking time to get to that point where finally Ursula realizes, oh, this isn't going my way. I need to take control of the situation. So I guess for me, maybe like the second act, that's just what's felt long. And like I said, this movie is longer than the original. and I think they could have shortened that second act. I was fine with like the amount of time we're spending with Eric and Ariel, but just seemed like we're going to that same well over and over again, and I was ready to move on to the next part of it.
Zach, you originally thought this might be your daughter's first theater movie, but then you thought maybe it might be a little too scary. Having seen the film now, too scary for her?
I think, yes, the movie is too scary, and also the trailers before it are too scary.
What? Oh, do you guys get the Haunted Mansion PG-13 trailer?
Yes.
Yeah.
I didn't see it.
Did you not see it because you were looking at your phone, or did you like not show up in time for trailers?
I don't watch trailers.
Okay, so James, there was a trailer for Haunted Mansion,
Yeah.
PG-13,
Okay.
and it was showing like jump scares and creepy faces, like obviously nothing bloody or anything, but
Yeah.
Mhm.
definitely like Galen was like he wants to see it now because he likes that kind of stuff. But like I can imagine if you got like your 4-year-old in that theater and this Haunted Mansion movie comes up with like faces and things popping out, that would not be a happy time for a lot of those kids.
Yeah. So that trailer alone was way too scary. And then I don't think there's any moments in this film that don't exist in the cartoon, like any scary moments.
Mhm.
It's just there's a difference between seeing a cartoon and seeing live action, you know? So like if there's when she first enters Ursula's lair,
Mhm.
there's some menacing from the creatures there, and it's definitely scarier in the live action. And then the kaiju Ursula at the end.
Yeah.
And both are scary, I would say. But seeing this like huge dark monster, I think, I don't know.
Mhm.
I thought
It's on the line.
Flotsam and Jetsam were creepier in this one.
Yeah, but they were great. They were perfect.
Do they talk in the original?
Yes.
Okay, because
I
they
think
did not
so.
talk in this one at all.
Yeah. I mean, they don't like give long speeches, but yeah.
I did really like how Melissa McCarthy was always I don't know, like it's like doing these like soliloquies to no one.
Yeah.
Like she's just
Oh, yeah.
narrating her life.
Mhm.
She's totally insane.
Yeah, it's great. I thought that was great.
Yeah.
I thought the whole I lost my potion freak out thing was a weird bit of comedy that didn't seem necessary for that movie also.
Sure.
But
I get that.
It was fine.
I like her tentacles, like we're trying to help her out. Like they have a mind of their own.
Right, yeah, they're grabbing
Mhm.
things. Yeah. Do you guys know
I
that
think I heard
this was like her
What?
first time singing? Like Melissa McCarthy didn't know if she was a singer or not.
No.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, she took vocal lessons and tried it out. They're like, "Hey, you're not half bad at this." So she actually sang her own parts in this movie.
That's
Hmm.
great.
But yeah,
I think it would have been very noticeable if she didn't.
if she was dubbed, yeah,
Yeah,
I
because
agree.
Melissa McCarthy has a very distinct voice.
I agree. Yeah.
Cool. Anything else with Little Mermaid 2023?
I would say if you like the cartoon, I recommend it.
And I would say if you like the cartoon, you can skip it.
Really?
The exact opposite.
I would say if you like the cartoon, you won't hate this.
Yeah, I don't think you'll hate it.
Won't hate this. I think you'll enjoy this for the same reasons you enjoyed the cartoon.
Sure. Because it's a classic story.
Yeah.
That they didn't screw up the story.
Case
But
in point,
I think
Kyle's son liked it.
I think if you want something 40 minutes shorter, that gives you basically the same thing. Just watch the cartoon. Like I don't think it added anything. Like if the graphics had been like Avatar Way of Water level, then I would be like, okay, they made an improvement here.
I
the
thought
swimming wasn't, but the hair was really
the hair
good.
was great. I completely agree. I
The
thought
hair was-
impressive.
The hair was great. It was unrealistic. That's not how hair moves in water, but it's fine. It stayed out of their face, which is why they made it move that way. Hair goes everywhere. It doesn't always flow backwards.
Yeah.
But in this
I've been
movie, it
underwater before.
always flowed backwards.
I would think-
completely stayed out of their face. For
No,
some
I would
reason.
think if you like a mermaid that has evolved underwater, right? And now you're like sentient,
Mhm.
that they've formed these unconscious movement patterns of how they move their body that keeps the hair out of their face. They're like, we're just not aware of. We don't speak that language, but like they have the way they move their body is very much evolved to keep the hair out of their face.
They're always slightly moving forward just so the hair gets pulled
Sure,
back at
it's
all times.
Totally.
Yeah.
Totally.
Or like they know the currents. They know look into the current so your hair looks great.
Did
It
you
made
guys see
sense.
how like they filmed it?
Yeah, like Halle Bailey, I did it. Halle Bailey is in like a rig with the whatever the blue suit on, and they're
Like a ring around her waist.
right, and they're like spinning her around as she's pretending to swim and sing. I thought that was pretty impressive.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah. Did you see how they did how during Under the Sea she's riding a turtle?
Yeah.
Do you see how they did that?
No.
They had
They gave her a turtle and she rode it.
no, they had a bunch of guys in blue suits like crawling on the ground like turtles, and she was riding on top of one of them. And
That's
then
awesome.
like Sebastian's next to her, so like on top of the guy next to her was like a little, crab avatar. For to look at.
Acting's become harder with CG. I mean, people have to act in a blue room to a tennis ball.
Riding on top of some acrobat's back.
All right.
Was it okay?
More?
No, I could go on. Let's just move on.
Okay. Anything else with Little Mermaid, or should we letterbox it? Let's letterbox it. I will give it a 3.5.
I'm gonna give it a 2.5. It would be a 3 if the '89 version didn't exist.
Okay.
Okay, I'll give it a 4.5.
All right.
All right.
I had a great time with this movie. I really enjoyed myself.
I'm really happy you did, Zach. I am not here to say no one should see this. You're gonna hate it. I'm glad you had a good time with it. I did not.
I didn't not enjoy myself. I just don't think it's
James,
necessary.
every time he talks about this movie, he uses this double negative
Right.
sentence structure. He's like, it's not bad.
It's not bad.
It's so interesting. There's another
It's
way to
not
say
bad.
that.
It's just unnecessary. It's like if you make like a remake of something that already exists and is already great, but you don't really improve it or ruin it, then why'd you do it? And I'm not
Right.
sure. Like, I understand the improvements you talked about, Zach.
Those are minor improvements.
None of those did anything for me in the big picture.
Like they didn't change the story, or they didn't say, let's tell the Little Mermaid, but now Prince Eric's the main character or whatever.
Yeah,
Like they gave us the same movie.
essentially.
Yeah.
So that's why it's a 3.5. It's like it already was a good movie. So they remade a good movie and they made another good movie. Great.
I guess
I'm fine with it.
I'm like, if I were to think of like my top 10 favorite movies,
Mm-hmm.
if they made a solid remake of any of them, I would love that. Like a Good Will Hunting that's like just as good. I'm totally on board.
Didn't they make a Shining remake with like Vincent Vaughn in the 90s or something?
Well,
Psycho?
not of that movie. They did it of the book.
They did a book.
It was based on the book, trying to not be that movie.
Yeah, because
But yeah,
because everyone knows you can't remake Kubrick's Shining, so they're like they're not going to try and touch it.
Oh, totally. But like, yeah, if it's a movie I love, like, and they just give me another one and it's pretty much hits the same notes, but it's just a different version, it's like they hit remix and it's like blue instead of green. I'm like, why not? I love it.
So when they come out with I'm going to do air quotes, live action Robin Hood, you're excited for that.
So excited.
Okay.
I have a Google alert trying to like get any news I can about it. Yeah, I'm so excited about it. I mean, there's a lot of big room for disappointment, but
Sure.
but yeah, very excited about it.
Like,
I hope it's people in fuzzy costumes.
And I would say the more they change it, the less I'll be excited about it. I want them to just give me what I already know in a new package. Like that's what I'm looking for.
That whatever.
does not make any sense to me at all. Just keep the one that you already like. What's the point?
That's what I'm saying is like
Yeah.
exactly what I said with my top 10. Like I would love to just have a new version of something I already love. Why not?
Why would you want another Good Will Hunting? There already is Good Will Hunting, which you love. Why do you want another
That's what-
one?
Well, that's what
Wouldn't
I'm saying
you
is
rather have
I'll always
something
have
you
Good Will
didn't
Hunting.
know about that
Yeah.
was brand new and also you loved just as much as Good Will Hunting?
But I can have both.
Why can you have both?
Why do you want both? Like you already have Good Will Hunting. Be happy with that. Why do you need another Good Will Hunting?
No, that's what you're not listening to me. I'm extremely happy that I have Good Will Hunting.
Okay.
And I will always have it, right?
Yeah.
I own it on VHS, DVD, and Blu-ray. I will always have Good Will Hunting. That is never going away. I'm just saying, if a movie came out and there's a remake of Good Will Hunting 30 years later, and for the most part, it hits all the same notes, gives you the same feelings watching it. It's like, it's just an updated kind of, maybe they changed the setting or something, but it's pretty much exactly the same movie. You feel the same watching it. Then now I have 2 Good Will Huntings instead of 1.
See,
it's like better.
In this one, they have iPhones.
Yeah, I'm all about it.
Okay.
I don't. I'd be happy for you if you got 2 Good Will Huntings that are perfectly just as good as each other. Me, I don't see the point. If you're not gonna make it better, or even make an attempt to make it better, then why are you even doing it?
Well, you can try to make it better. Right, in the same way that I think this movie improved these elements, you know.
But what about Good Will Hunting could be improved?
I mean, that's tough, man.
About your 5-star movie here, your top 2, 3 favorite movie.
What could be improved? I don't know.
Okay,
that's the thing is like if you are going to remake it, right? But you're not going to take a different angle on it, change it, give it a modern spin, whatever you need, whatever you're planning on doing, make a manga version of it. I don't know. Then there's really only one reason you'd be doing that, right?
I disagree. I don't think it's just a cash grab.
No, that's
James,
what that's called. That's the definition.
I'm giving you an alternative reason why you might do something like that.
Okay.
Because I would enjoy that.
Right. And because they've already sold you the original one, they're going to sell you this new one because their motivation is not to give you another movie that you love exactly like the old one. It's because you've already bought the old one. They want you to buy the new one.
Well, James, I hate to break it to you, but Hollywood, in every movie they put out, the goal is to make money. Like, they're trying to make money with every movie they make.
I get that. But we as consumers who choose where to put our money, which motivates them as far as what movies they make, we hopefully will reject the idea that we want to see the same stories over and over and over again.
Like, why can't it be a win-win? Why can't they make money and we get movies that are original and that we like?
Right.
It can be both. It doesn't have to be either they make money or we get original movies.
No, here's what I'm saying is it can be both in the sense of they can make these remakes that make them money and they use that money to make new original stories, right? Like anytime the
what
studios
new original
are making,
movie is Disney making?
No, what I'm saying is like studios that make these original movies that flop, right? They can't make any more original movies. But studios that are very profitable that make a Toy Story 2, 3, and 4 can now make Inside Out and Elemental and blah blah blah.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
But okay, I'm just gonna hone in on Toy Story 2, 3, and 4 are sequels, but they're still different movies. It's not Toy Story and then we remade Toy Story 10 years later, but we have new graphics. Then we made it again 10 years later with even better graphics.
I'm using those as examples, and maybe I should use Cars 2 and 3 as like examples of cash grabs.
True, those are better examples.
That's pretty much how you guys are viewing this.
This is a cash grab. Like the whole idea behind these Disney live action remakes are, let's just make it again. We own the property. Can probably renew our copyright while we're at it and make a bunch of money instead of having to make something
already
new.
written.
Exactly.
It's already proven.
We don't
it's
like
ours to mess up, basically.
Pretty much, right?
Yeah. Barely even have to market it because they've been marketing it since the release of the first one.
All I have to say is like the magic is back 35 years later. Little Mermaid again, and then bam, that's your trailer right there.
I understand the business reason for it,
sure.
Right? But honestly, to single these out in the sea of sequels and franchise films and Fast and Furious 11 and all that stuff is I mean, it's all about money, obviously. But what I'm saying is, all three of us were in theaters where people were by and large enjoying this a ton, right?
Sure.
And I enjoyed it a ton. And so I think that it does have a reason to exist besides just the cynical money angle, in that a lot of people are enjoying this movie.
Yeah, I mean, I don't disagree.
There's that double negative again. It's so
Sorry.
funny.
I agree.
Another way to say that is I agree.
Yeah. Okay.
Sure.
So I guess
I agree that there might be a reason why somebody would make this movie. I
Yeah.
wish there wasn't a reason why people would make this movie, because I don't think it needs to exist personally. As somebody who watches movies, I could have seen this movie, not seen this movie wouldn't have changed my life one iota.
right.
And so when I go to see movies, when I physically get in a car and go somewhere, spend that time and effort, I'd like to walk out with a little more than what I walked out with this movie. Now, I wasn't like, wow, that was a giant waste of time, like I did when I saw Lion King. When I saw Lion King, I was like, they just took something that was good and made it bad. I'd rather not. Or even Aladdin. Aladdin was the same way. I was just like, at least Aladdin had interesting swings in it. With Lion King, there wasn't even interesting swings in it.
It's so interesting. Aladdin I didn't like. The remake for Aladdin I didn't like. Lion King was a 5-star movie for me.
Yeah, I
See,
remember
like-
that.
Like with Aladdin, I think that's a bad movie. I didn't mind making the drive because they tried things with it, even though none of them worked. At least it was a different experience watching that movie in the theater than watching the original in the theater, which it always was because of what's his name, the comedian. Like it was always
Robin
going to be
Williams.
different no matter what, because there's no Robin Williams in this movie. But anyway, yeah. So when I go see these movies, it's kind of on them to justify their existence. And I don't feel like in this version of The Little Mermaid, for my money, short of giving people a fun night watching a movie that's very similar to the same one they watched 40 years ago or whatever the years are between now and 1989. Yeah, I mean, sure, if the end result of the movie is people had fun at a movie theater, 1 April in 2023, then that's the legacy of the movie. That's probably what the legacy of this movie is going to be, I imagine.
I think I would be saying 100% the same thing as both of you.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I would be parodying your exact words if this movie was animated.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if this was The Little Mermaid and it was just a remake and it was exactly the same and it's animated,
So the Lion King.
No, like 2D animation.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Like, the fact, I think it's enough for me that they've just changed medium, right? Like, if they came out with a claymation Little Mermaid, that's enough for me. Like, I think that alone, to go from a silent movie to a talkie, from a black and white to a color, from a animated to live action, that enough alone is enough of a change that you've done that. Thank you. Now I'm seeing, an impressionist painting instead of a photorealistic painting,
Mm-hmm.
and or vice versa. Now don't change anything that I like. Like, just give me the thing I already like, but now you've changed the medium, and that's enough for me.
And
So, like, back to how we originally said with the Robin Hood remake, honestly, if they gave me the exact same movie, tried to make improvements where they could, obviously, but like we've had so many Robin Hood movies where they're like, hey, let's take the story and subvert it, right? Let's make it dark or gritty, or what if Robin Hood was played by Sean Connery and he's the bad guy? They've done those things, and I don't like those things. Like, you don't need to just change it. Just give me what I do like, That's how I feel.
And I guess I am in the opposite boat of, I know I like this, so what else can you do with this story? And for me, just changing the medium wasn't enough. It's like you have the Little Mermaid story. No one else can make. I don't know. I guess I don't know if it's within. I don't know the copyright behind Little Mermaid. I know I said before this is for copyright reasons. I don't know if this is public domain.
I think the copyright probably lasts. No, it lasts like 90 years after it's made, so they're probably good for a long time.
Yeah. Anyway, you have the Little Mermaid story. So what else can you do with that story besides give me the exact same thing you gave me 35 years ago, but with actors instead of cartoons?
Well, sure. And that's what Little Mermaid 2 is. And, Little Mermaid Scuttle's Revenge. And,
I can't wait for
all
Scuttle's
those kind of
Revenge.
things. Like what you're talking about is these Winnie the Pooh horror movies, which are like,
No, that's
like that kind of thing.
I don't think so. I think
that's what I'm saying.
In a world where Jungle Book live action remake exists, there's a version of these movies where they're like, we take it from animation to live action. Some things are still 3D animated because they have to be. And that movie gave like Jungle Book like a nostalgic element to it and a softness to the film that just doesn't exist in the original, a sweetness. And I'm not saying every one of these remakes needs to do that. I don't even know if this movie needed to do that. This movie, I think, did what it needed to do, which is not screw it up. They came close on the Scuttlebutt song, but luckily that comes and goes.
Yeah.
That's probably their worst sin, which is not much, I would say, compared to some of the sins of Aladdin live action remake. And so, I think for what they needed to do to be successful here, I think they did that. But let's just watch the original. Who gives a crap in the long run? Like, let's say 20 years from now, your daughter has a child and it's time to watch The Little Mermaid
20
again.
years is really
20 years from now. She's 25. That's not out of the question. And it's time to watch Little Mermaid again. Which one are you going to grab? The live action or the animated version?
Oh, she's
Which one
watching
is she
Little
gonna
Mermaid
grab?
2043 for sure.
Your granddaughter needs to watch The Little Mermaid.
There's a great chance she's going to watch the live action.
I guess we'll just have to keep recording for the next 20 years, evidently, to find out.
This is Cinereelists episode. I don't even know what number that'd be. 4,972. We
I
are
would
checking
bet
in with Kayla and her granddaughter.
Kayla Jr. I don't know. I don't think it'll replace the original, but maybe it will.
Well, did for
I
Galen.
will
so.
say though, no one else is doing this really. So it's not like this is an epidemic in the movie industry and it's destroying Hollywood.
No one else is remaking movies.
I can't think of anyone else who is making remakes that are relatively exactly the same.
But Disney is like 60% of Hollywood, though. Like they.
But it's really siloed and just they're taking the cartoons and every single one of the cartoons is going to be a remake.
Yeah.
In live action, like, and we all kind of know that.
Yeah, but Disney used to give, and they still kind of do with like Frozen. Like Disney was giving people original stories, and they, a lot of people's favorite classic movies are Disney, as we've been talking about this podcast, especially for you and me, Zach. And now Disney's just like, no, let's just recycle it. Like instead of being creative, instead of giving new classics and new movies that, like a Moana, which again, they're still giving us Moana, they're giving us Frozen, and people do enjoy those in Encanto. They're throwing them in there. But at the same time, they're also like, let's also just crank out more Little Mermaid and more Beauty and the Beast and whatever else.
It's exactly my point is you're listing off these exceptions, but like, no, they're giving us Frozen 2, Moana, Encanto. Like these movies are huge movies, right? Beloved, gigantic movies, bigger than any of these movies that we're talking about.
I don't know.
For sure. Frozen,
yes, but Encanto, no.
Yeah, not Encanto. I don't know if Encanto is going to be bigger than.
Well, I think Encanto. I think Encanto. My guess would be yes. We'll never know because of Disney Plus and going just straight onto that.
Right, yeah.
We just won't know.
Encanto will survive longer than the remake of Little Mermaid as far as zeitgeist, in my opinion.
So what I'm saying is Disney itself is still giving us. For their generation, iconic movies, right?
Mm-hmm. Like
Frozen and Frozen 2 has been played 30 times in my house, right?
Yeah.
And they're beloved films. We haven't shown them Moana yet because we think we may soon. But Encanto was like, that had zeitgeist on it.
Mm-hmm.
I just think those films are still coming. It's just also prepare yourselves, everybody. Every Disney movie is going to be remade live action.
They're doing that with Moana. They're remaking Moana live action.
Oh, I'm sure.
No, I'm sure they are. Like it is happening. And
I have no problem with that.
Again, because they're not giving the movie any room to breathe. Okay, so like what Disney used to do. Remember they had the vault, right? And it was a whole idea of, for people who aren't familiar, that they would take like a classic movie and like Disney's going to put it in the vault for the next 10 years. And that means you can't get it on VHS. It's not going to be shown on TV. They're basically like locking it away. And then they would take it out of the vault and sell it and show it back on TV.
Yeah, that was a cash grab.
I know,
That was a
but
financial decision.
it also, as I'm saying it, I'm hearing it. Trust me, Zach. But it also, I think,
better buy it now. It's going in the vault.
It helped build some of the love for these movies, right? Because there was like this movie's special. You can enjoy this, and I think that helped a lot of kids love these movies. And if we're taking Moana and we're just going to remake it in 5 years after it was made, like what's going to happen to 2016 Moana? Is that just going to be replaced now by 2024 Moana? And we're just going to forget, which is an excellent Disney movie, because we're just going to remake it.
You mean replaced because they love something more, or what are you talking about?
Because essentially it's going to erase 2016 Moana. I guess I'm afraid of the erasure of these movies by these remakes.
Because kids will enjoy them more?
Well, yeah, because kids like shiny new things. I don't think Galen can tell a difference between, like, I don't think he could objectively look at the two Little Mermaids side by side. I think for part of him, he sees 7. He likes to see,
If this Little Mermaid came out in 1989, and then this year they came out with the cartoon, would you be saying the same things about the cartoon?
I don't know, because we're not doing that. We're not making live action into cartoon. So
let's just hypothetically go there.
I don't know. I can't answer that.
It feels more like the nostalgia for the cartoon because it's the first thing you saw, or whatever. Just because, like, this movie isn't worse than the cartoon,
but it's not.
It's the same,
No, I think it's worse. I was bored. I think it's worse. You think it's the same. I think it's worse.
I think it's slightly worse.
Yeah.
Not grossly worse, but slightly worse.
Sure. Okay. Well, I mean, I like the first one better. But nostalgia plays.
So this one is worse then.
No, what I'm saying is because of nostalgia. Like, the reason I like the first one better is because of my criteria for how I like movies. Nostalgia is one of the criteria, and that's really high for Little Mermaid. So I can't fairly judge which one's better because I like the first one better because of nostalgia.
But I think you can judge them fairly better.
Well, I'm just saying, this is a 4.5-star movie and the other one's a 5-star movie. So it's like
4.5 stars.
Practically the same.
That's what I'm saying, right?
Yep. Okay. I think this is the longest post-star rating discussion I think we've ever had.
It might be.
Let's move on to our list for this week. This is the top 10 fish out of water films. Does somebody want to define what a fish out of water film is?
Sure.
Okay.
Fish out of water film or story is about a character who is taken out of their comfort zone and then put into a new, unfamiliar setting, often, but not always, for comedic purposes.
Yep. Pretty good definition. So these are movies about people put in situations they're not necessarily prepared to handle or used to. So I think it's pretty common. It's a pretty common storytelling device amongst Hollywood films, films in general, storytelling in general, really. And so there was lots to choose from, I would say.
Yeah, there's a lot.
I think maybe most of the discussion might be just how much of a fish out of water it really is, kind of, because that's what I struggled with, was like, you think of just about every movie out there, and you could probably argue there's a fish out of water element to it.
Because the hero's journey is you go to something unexpected,
right?
That you're not used to.
For sure. So my list is a little bit of like how much the movie relies on that, and also how much I like them mixed together.
Okay.
My number 10 is Last Action Hero from 1993, which is kind of like a double fish out of water because half the movie, the kid, Arnold Schwarzenegger plays a movie action star. And this kid who really likes going to the movies dreams of being in the types of movies he's in, the action movies that he's in. And so at some point, the little boy goes into that world and is the fish out of the water. And he's experiencing the action movie world where logic doesn't always make sense. Everything's in service of action movie stunt type stuff. And then farther on in the movie, Arnold Schwarzenegger goes into the real world and he becomes the fish out of the water, and hijinks and action ensue. And I really like this movie. It didn't do very well when it first came out in movie theaters, but it has definitely accumulated a cult following over the years. And I think it's totally watchable. One of his best from the early 90s for sure. Well, I mean, next to Terminator 2.
Yeah, like, I would say it's one of his best.
Right around here. Right around here was like a lot of good movies, I would say. Most of his best were in this time period. Maybe you don't think it's one of his best. I'd say it's like top 5.
I would say it's not as bad as people remember it being. I watched it a couple years ago, and
that could be.
It was ahead of its time. I don't think people were ready for the whole meta commentary on the action movie yet.
Yeah, I mean, Arnold Schwarzenegger, I think, is pretty unique in that he adopted the idea early that like it was okay to kind of skewer his own public persona.
Right.
Yeah.
And
he doesn't have his ego like Vin Diesel. That kind of thing.
Like he did it in one way with like movies like Kindergarten Cop, and then he did it directly towards like the action movies he was making in Last Action Hero. So my number 10.
Cool.
My number 10 is Demolition Man from 1993. This is Sylvester Stallone and Wesley Snipes in this kind of sci-fi movie where Sylvester Stallone is cryogenically frozen and then he's thawed out in the future. And he's just anytime you like go into the future and you know you're from the past, that's fish out of water.
Mm-hmm. And
then he's literally frozen, right? So he's in water and then he comes out. Mm-hmm. And I think this movie is a good action movie, and it's funny. I mean, I haven't seen it in 25 years. I don't know, but I liked it. I enjoyed it.
Was Demolition Man the one with the Taco Bell in it?
Yeah.
I always liked that movie just because of that. And that's probably what Little Mermaid was missing. Needed more Taco Bell.
More corporate sponsorship.
I would have been in
absolutely.
It.
Yeah.
You wanted Sebastian to go through the drive-thru and bring her seafood.
Absolutely.
Oh.
Long John Silver's.
My number 10 is A River Runs Through It. There's this scene where Brad Pitt catches a fish.
Chiwetel Ejiofor.
Where Brad Pitt catches a fish, and that fish is definitely out of water.
Is your list literally fish leave water?
I almost made that list. I didn't. I made the actual list, but
okay.
I considered making a top 10 list movies where a fish leaves the water.
Literally leaves water.
Yeah. So
is a mermaid a fish? Are we saying yes or no?
Does it have gills?
A shark is a fish, right?
Yeah, but sharks have gills. Like there are certain criteria to make you a fish. I would say that technically Little Mermaid is not a fish. They are some mammal fish hybrid.
Offshoot.
Yeah.
Are whales
some type
fish?
of dolphin.
No, because whales don't have gills. They have to breathe. That's why they breach. They got to breathe.
Yeah.
Oxygen.
I would say mermaids are like a dolphin species, basically.
But
like mammals.
But they don't come up for air that we ever see.
That's true. But I would imagine they give live birth.
Where?
You think they lay eggs?
I don't. I just see a bunch of scales down there.
Sure.
I'm not seeing any reproductive organs whatsoever.
This is going to gloss over it.
So.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay.
They're not fish, though.
They're not fish, but I don't think they're mammals either.
Oh, you don't think they're mammals even?
Humans are mammals, so
yes,
whatever.
they are.
So if it's not a fish, it's not a mammal. What is it?
It's a
You think a totally new category?
Yeah, it's a mythical creature.
It's a famil.
I call it fishmole. All right,
Fishmole.
Here's my real number 10.
All right, let's hear it.
Idiocracy from 2006, directed by Mike Judge. Mike Judge. This movie stars Luke Wilson and Maya Rudolph as two average Americans who get frozen in hibernation and wake up 500 years in the future. And they are now the world's smartest people because America has become the dumbest country. And they team up with Dax Shepard to try and save the country along with Terry Crews, who's the president. This was a movie that was silly but funny in 2006. And in like the last 5 years, people have re-examined it and saying, oh, well, maybe this movie was actually predicting the future. I haven't watched this movie recently because part of me is afraid that it's going to be a little too on the nose unknowingly when it was made 20 years ago.
Sure. It's a good one. I need to rewatch it. That was another movie too that like they made it and then it didn't come out for like 3 years.
Right.
Took a long time to just get a theater release.
Do you know what shoes everyone wears in the future in Idiocracy?
Reebok?
Is it Crocs?
It's Crocs, yeah.
Which is weird because we're at a cultural moment now where everybody's wearing Crocs.
Right. I think because when the movie was made, Mike Judge was like, what's the dumbest shoe out there? Oh, a Croc? Okay, let's have everyone wear that in the future. And now.
I've never owned a Croc, but I do like that you can stylize them with your own like Croc pins.
They're called...
Flare.
No, they're called like giblets or something. I mean, it's not a giblet. There's some official term for what a Croc flare is.
I think it is a giblet.
Is it a giblet? Okay. Which is also like the internal organs. What's it called?
Gibbets.
Oh, gibbets. Okay, yeah.
Gibbets.
Giblets is the internal organs of a chicken that you remove before you cook it. So gibbets.
Probably most foul, yeah.
All right.
Yeah. It's kind of fun.
Sure. My number 9 is Captain America: The Winter Soldier, which is another freezing movie where somebody enters a frozen state and then wakes up many years later and then doesn't fully know what's going on because it's the future now and they have old-timey ideas in their brain. And it was one of the early Marvel movies, kind of setting the pace, setting the stage for what was to come in later movies. Thor did not make my list, but it's also another one of these early movies. Lots of fish out of water movies in these early Marvel days. But between those two, I prefer Captain America: The Winter Soldier. So that's why I picked it for my number 9.
Nice. Before we go on, do you know the origin of the phrase fish out of water?
Is it the Bible?
No, it's not.
Okay. No.
Geoffrey Chaucer in Canterbury Tales.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. About a guy who is not comfortable riding a horse.
So they described him like a fish out of water?
Yeah.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Okay. My number 9 is Elf. Will Ferrell is an elf, goes back to the human world and totally doesn't know what's going on. And it's a lot of fun. That movie's great.
Agreed.
My number 9 has been kind of already mentioned on this podcast. It is Kindergarten Cop, starring Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Great choice.
Plays a detective who goes undercover as a kindergarten teacher to try and find the criminal father of one of the students. And he must learn to control children and soon learn how to love them.
Nice. My number 8 is Austin Powers: The Spy Who Shagged Me from 1999. It's the first Austin Powers movie where he's cryogenically frozen and then woken up in the future. He thinks it's still the 1960s. Well, maybe he doesn't think, but he thinks like somebody who would be a cliched British spy from the 1960s. And a ridiculous movie, funny movie, a good deal, but not all of the comedy is the 1960s throwback stuff. And I enjoy it. And that's why it's on my list.
Nice. My number 8 is Big. Tom Hanks is a kid playing an adult in the adult world. And classic Fish Out of Water.
My number 8 is also Austin Powers,
Nice.
International Man of Mystery.
My
Rewatched that a couple years ago, and it has like a low budget feel to it. It's kind of fun. It feels like it was kind of thrown together. It worked, and then they ran with it. The idea,
Right. And I think the sequels aren't as surprising because there was a formula to follow.
Right.
But I do think there's good jokes in the sequels. Like the sequels are worth watching.
I liked Spy Who Shagged Me.
Mhm.
I did not care for Goldmember.
The third one.
Yeah, but that's fine.
I liked it. My number 7 is Edward Scissorhands from 1990. Story of it's a Frankenstein story, really. This guy animates. I don't even know what you'd call him. He's not a robot, right?
No.
Yeah, he's like a
He's
being.
prosthetics.
Right.
He's a human. Isn't he human?
No.
I thought there was some like Dr. Frankenstein stuff going on.
Yeah, it's a Frankenstein
is there?
thing.
Yeah.
It's a Frankenstein thing for sure. And then he goes to live in suburbia with after his creator passes away, and he's got scissors for hands. Thus the title. Sure, most people have seen it, but it's definitely a fish out of water story for the bulk of the movie. My number 7.
Do you know Edward Scissorhands is my favorite Tim Burton movie?
I feel like I did know that.
Yeah, I think so.
Because you
Do you
don't
know?
like Tim Burton movies.
Correct. It's probably the only one that I like. I'd have to think through it, but
You haven't
it
seen
may
the.
be-
Have you ever seen Big Fish?
Yeah.
Really, you didn't like Big Fish? Felt like
No.
that would be one you might like.
What about Beetlejuice?
I don't get Beetlejuice. I'm too young for Beetlejuice.
What about Pee-wee's Big Adventure?
Oh yeah.
I think I'm too young. I missed the boat on Pee-wee's Big Adventure.
You missed
I
the-
saw it when I
you're
was like
too young right now
Zach,
for
we
Pee-wee's
were
Big
the
Adventure.
prime age for Pee-wee.
exactly, and I saw it when I was 32.
Oh, okay. Did you watch
And-
Pee-wee's Playhouse as a kid?
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, all right, good.
100% I did.
Okay.
And yeah, coming to Pee-wee's Big Adventure for the first time at 32 is just a different experience.
1989 Batman? You didn't like that?
Not really.
Batman Returns. You don't like Batman Returns.
If you didn't
No.
like Batman, you wouldn't like Batman Returns. No way.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, those are the good ones.
I could see if I have any that are
The rest get
I like.
shaky from there, I would say. But Edward
But I
Scissorhands
do-
is a great favorite
Yeah.
movie of his, for sure.
I
If you're gonna like any of them,
legitimately, yeah.
I think that's top tier Burton. So I'm all right with it.
Okay.
What about
What's-
Big Eyes?
Oh, did not like Big Eyes.
I like Big Eyes.
They were too big. No, just kidding. I didn't like it though.
What's your number 7, Zach?
I'm just seeing my second favorite Tim Burton movie. Oh,
What is it?
starring. Wouldn't you like to know?
I really would. That's why I
Batman.
asked.
Batman's
It's
your second
Batman.
favorite Burton. Okay.
Yeah. Ed Wood is my third. All right.
Ed Wood is good too.
Number 7, Beverly Hills Cop. And I had a hard time with this one because I don't have a distinct idea in my head of the difference between 1, 2, and 3.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't remember which one I liked better. I don't remember if he's a fish out of water in all of them, but certainly in the first one, right? He's a little out of place in this
For sure in the first one.
fanciness world.
Going from
whatever.
Detroit
But-
to
remember anything.
Precisely. I'd love to rewatch all these movies because I enjoyed watching them,
And it's been a while.
but I can't remember anything about what happens in these first ones.
anything.
Just because it's been a while since I've seen them,
while.
and so really I just can't remember.
So
anything.
they made the first one,
Tony.
and then they made 2 more, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
It's not a tumor.
Thank you.
Yeah. So yeah. So Blast Action Hero, great movie, a lot of fun
All right.
for all the
Agreed.
reasons mentioned.
Well, that was your number 7, Last Action Hero.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
I didn't know
No,
where we
Beverly
were.
Hills Cop.
Beverly Hills Cop.
My number 7 is Elf. Fun movie.
Agreed. My number 6, the aforementioned Kindergarten Cop from 1990.
Well done.
Great fish out of water story. Another Arnold
My
movie.
number 6 is the aforementioned Last Action Hero.
Nice.
I when I saw this movie, I think people were generally hating on it, and I was like, "What are they talking about? This movie is so fun and funny and like self-aware, and like I just never seen anything like it. It was great."
Did you see when it came out?
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, great. Oh.
I think the issue was 1992 Terminator 2 Judgment Day, 1993 Last Action Hero. I think that was the issue, was people were just like, they were mind blown by Terminator 2. And then Last Action Hero was not that movie. Like, not a sequel to that, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it took the brunt of it.
My number 6 is a different Eddie Murphy movie. I was trying to choose one of them, and I chose Trading Places.
Okay.
And in this, Eddie Murphy plays a homeless man who trades places with Dan Aykroyd by two rich guys who basically have a bet to see if, like, is it a nature versus nurture thing? If you take a rich person and put them on the streets, will they become a quote unquote street person? Because they're terrible people. And then Eddie Murphy is then brought into Dan Aykroyd's world. And he is, I guess they're both fish out of waters, and they're in two completely different worlds.
Nice. My number 5, Crocodile Dundee. Great movie. Great film. Pretty sure it should be in the Library of Congress.
I think it is.
Is it really?
No, it's not an American film.
I don't. That's an American film.
I think it is an American film.
It's not about an American, but it is an American film.
No, I mean, like, it might have been made in America, but it's not. It's not like, American.
Is that what it takes to get into the Library of Congress? I don't
That's
think
the main
so.
criteria.
It's about a foreigner in America. What's more
Right.
American than that?
For sure.
A lot of things.
Yeah, great movie. I haven't seen it in so long. I have no clue if it holds up at all. But
I doubt it does, James.
But I watched it a bunch as a kid. I remember seeing it in a movie theater, and there's like a couple jokes in it that were like beyond my age, I would say. And then renting it on video like repeatedly.
Yeah.
And seeing it on HBO, and it was kind of like just one of these ubiquitous movies for like 3 or 4 years of my life for some reason. So my number 5.
Great number 5. Fantastic number 5. My number 5 is The Wizard of Oz.
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
Dorothy in Oz. What is she gonna do?
Nothing.
Do you guys
Follow
was
the Old
Oz
Brick Road.
all just a dream? Do you think Oz was real?
Do I think Oz was real?
I think it was a dream.
You don't think it actually happened?
But I honestly never really cared. I watched the movie a lot as a kid. We had it like taped off of TV, and I liked it. It was colorful. I might mention it later in this list. So as an adult, was it all a dream? Yeah, probably. But I don't think it really matters. It doesn't change the movie either way.
I've never really considered it, but now that you've put me to the task, I would say, yeah, probably all a dream.
Okay.
You think it really happened?
No, I don't. Except, what about the sequels? I mean, there's like 20 books. She keeps going back in the dream world. I mean,
yeah, she's an avid dreamer.
Okay, so I haven't.
Doesn't she still have the slippers or something at the end?
I haven't read the books. Is the book and the movie the same thing? Like, does she wake up in her bed in the book, or is
I
that
believe so.
an addition that they made for the movie?
I think she does.
Okay. And then Frank L. Baum did write multiple books beyond just Wizard of
like
Oz?
a ton.
Okay.
A ton.
Okay.
Hmm.
Well,
Did he write them before the success of the original or after?
Yes. Before.
Before. Okay, so he always imagined this was more than just one book.
Yeah.
Okay. Fair enough.
All right,
Wizard of Oz, number 5.
nice. My number 5 is one of 2 non-comedy fish out of water movies on my list. And this is Sicario from 2015, directed by Denis Villeneuve. In this, Emily Blunt plays an FBI agent who gets recruited to a mysterious drug task force. And she pretty much spends the entire movie asking Josh Brolin and other people she's interacting with, what the F are we doing here right now? And she is completely out of her element and outside the bounds of law as she is experiencing sort of the extra legal side of the war on drugs.
Yeah. I mean, that scene at like
ensues.
That scene at like the border crossing where like everybody knows exactly what's happening except for her. It's great.
That's the moment where she says like to people, what the F are we doing right now at the border? Yeah.
Yeah. My number 4, also not a comedy. It's 2019's Midsommar, which the main character, I would say, played by
Florence Pugh.
Her character, even though she knew she was going to go there, I think she's the only one that like didn't know what to expect for the most part, because she's kind of like living in her own world of despair, even though she's going on this trip. And then when she gets there, the village people, that sounded weird, the people that live in the village who are at the Midsommar event.
the policeman,
weird way to describe
the Indian, the construction worker,
what's happening in this movie. Yeah, they take a liking to her and just kind of drag her from one happening to another, and she does not know what's going on at all. And you're kind of seeing it through. You're seeing the events unfold through her eyes, both the weirdness of the locals and also her processing her recent traumatic experiences and processing the issues with her boyfriend, all against the backdrop of this very odd situation for her. My number 3.
Nice. My number 4, because I think that was your number 4, is School of Rock, which is maybe like a, spiritual sister to Kindergarten Cop. I don't know. You got a teacher who's not supposed to be a teacher, and I think School of Rock's just a really good, clean, fun, pleasant movie. It's like Sister Act. Oh, I should have put Sister Act on my list.
Sister Act is a great choice.
That is depth. Although I tried to rewatch it like a couple years ago, and she doesn't enter the convent for like 40 minutes.
Yeah. There's that whole beginning where she's like a Vegas singer running from the mob or something.
Yeah, and it's really dramatic and like not fun at all, and it's like so long.
Oh, that's okay. So we were thinking about showing that movie to Galen, but if it's like 40 minutes before she's in the convent,
it is.
Okay.
Yeah, so Sister Act 2 is the way to go.
Just jump right back in the habit. Jump right
back in the habit with
Nuns,
the best subtitle of any movie.
Nuns on the Run.
It could have been Fast 10: your seatbelts. Could have been the new best subtitle of any movie.
No.
But we're not there yet.
They messed it up.
Vin.
Mm-hmm.
He's going to do Fasten Your Seatbelts too.
He's going to look at the audience. Hey, Fasten Your Seatbelts 2.
Do you think it'll be called Fast X 2?
I have no idea what they're going to name the next one.
I think it might be called Fast X Part 2.
Yeah.
There's a chance.
What if it was Fast X Squared?
That's 100.
I'm just saying.
That's not 100.
X squared? 10 times 10?
Well, Roman numerals didn't square it, so at that point you're looking at a variable. They didn't have a 2. 2 doesn't. You can't switch numerical systems.
There has been no Roman numerals in the Fast and Furious franchise until this one. And in fact, I don't think not all of them even had numbers.
Yeah.
Right. Fast and Furious didn't have a number.
Or no, Tokyo Drift didn't have a number either.
Don't tell me no. Don't tell me no. Fast and Furious did not have a number.
Yeah, neither did Tokyo Drift.
Did 7 have a number?
Yeah, that was Furious 7.
Okay.
It was half a number.
Half a number.
All right, School of Rock, my number 4.
All right. My number 4 is the previously mentioned Big, about a middle school boy wishing that he was an adult and turns into Tom Hanks, but is still a middle school boy on the inside. I really wanted that loft apartment. He had the bunk beds and a trampoline and a basketball hoop and a soda machine. What better apartment than that right there?
Sure. I always liked the place that the kid from Toy lived in. The Toy. Remember the rich kid from The Toy? Did you ever see The Toy?
I've never seen The Toy, no.
You're missing out on kid bedrooms that you'd want.
Okay.
My number 3 is the first.
I don't know.
Whoops, that's wrong.
Okay.
Bingo.
Yes, that's what I was trying to. There we go. It's the first bingo. This is Elf, which is I think both of you have mentioned. So, great movie. Don't really have much to say about it, but it's definitely a fish out of water story.
Yeah. My number 3 is Some Like It Hot. Yeah, it was super funny.
Never seen it.
Check it out.
All right.
My number 3.
Nobody's perfect.
Nobody's perfect. Nice. My number 3 is the other non-comedic movie on my list, and this is In the Heat of the Night, starring Sidney Poitier. Sidney Poitier plays a detective from Chicago who is in the South, and a murder happens, and he's immediately arrested for the murder because he's a black guy in the South. Once they realize that he is a detective, he actually helps solve the murder, but still has to deal with the racial politics of being in the South while solving the murder.
Just feels wrong to call this a fish out of water movie, because it's like saying like go back to where you belong, fish.
I didn't think about it that way, but I guess I'm saying in the sense of he is in a place that does not accept him.
He shouldn't be.
No, not that he shouldn't be. Jay, what's your number 2?
Sure. My number 2 is definitely about a guy in a place where he shouldn't be. 1982, it's Tron, which is literally a real guy who gets sucked into a computer and is forced to play computer games as a participant in the actual game. And
pretty good at it though.
Because he's good at video games, and everybody knows, like, if you're good at Call of Duty, you'd be, real great in actual war. So
yeah,
it makes sense.
If you can play a Guitar Hero, shred.
Yeah, then you're automatically a rock star.
Yeah.
So it all started with Tron, and that's where it ends. My number 2.
My number 2 is My Cousin Vinny. 2 guys get arrested. They have their uncle be their lawyer, and he's from New York and just not in that Southern mentality at all. And it's a great movie. If you haven't seen My Cousin Vinny, you got to see My Cousin Vinny.
I've never seen it.
Nah, that's not true.
That is true.
You haven't seen My Cousin Vinny?
I've never seen My Cousin Vinny.
James,
I'm shocked.
I've seen My Cousin Vinny.
Okay, great.
James, I'm shocked.
Why are you
Why have you
shocked?
not seen My Cousin Vinny?
Why have I not?
Are you
seen
avoiding it? Is it overhyped?
I'm not
Are you
avoiding.
waiting for the hype to die down?
Just don't. I don't have a problem with My Cousin Vinny. I would watch it, but I haven't. I don't have an explanation.
You have a problem with Marissa Tomei?
I had no idea.
Oscar-winning performance from Marissa
No,
Tomei.
Like I said, I'm not against it. I just haven't.
No, I'm just shocked that I didn't realize this. Like I literally didn't know this.
We don't talk about My Cousin Vinny.
Well, apparently I know why now. James, you will really like My Cousin Vinny. It's great.
You think?
Yes, I do think. Marissa Tomei is awesome. Joe Pesci's awesome. It's great.
I don't know if great's the word. It's good.
You don't know if it's good?
I don't know if it's not great.
Wow, you're doing the double negative now. You don't know if it's not great.
Yeah.
All right. Well, it's been on my watch list, so I'm not going to tell you I'll add it because it's been there. But
Prioritize it.
someday I'll watch it. I assume.
Do you like courtroom dramas?
Yeah, sure.
What about courtroom comedies?
I don't think I've ever seen one. Can't think of one.
Oh, okay. Something new.
I watched a courtroom drama that was so good, but was probably so the opposite of My Cousin Vinny.
What was it?
I'm trying to remember the name of it.
12 Angry Men.
It was a French movie about a mother who threw her baby away. No, she left the baby on the beach and let the tide take it. And
Saint Omer.
Saint Omer. That movie was so good, but probably not My Cousin Vinny style comedy for sure. That movie.
Does a fast talking guy from New Jersey defend her?
No.
Okay.
That movie, not for some reason, like it was interesting because it showed the French court system, which is different than ours, very different than ours. And so just watching like how they manage things inside a court was interesting. The other thing that was interesting is when people were questioned, the camera would stay on whoever was questioned and never cut away to the person asking them questions. And so there were these really long takes of performances, like, anywhere from 3 minutes, which is long for most movies, to like a 15-minute take of just somebody getting hammered with questions. It was good, but not a happy movie.
The first review I saw, it says, saw it in the cinema and liked it. So
that was the entire review?
Yeah, that's the entire review.
I don't know how you can watch that movie and only have that to say about it.
They saw it in the cinema and they liked it.
They liked it.
I makes sense to me.
Yep.
Anyway. The next review is, I watched the first 30 minutes yesterday and the subtitles were fine.
Where are you reading this?
This is
not
reviews.com/Saint Omer.
Reviews.com. Okay.
Right now.
This is not Letterboxd.
Here we go. Let's go Letterboxd. Deeply impressive and confident. I don't think I've ever seen anything that so smoothly and scarily captures a dread shared between two absolute strangers.
This is a Letterboxd review for sure.
Yep. American courtroom dramas have not prepared me for France's primarily vibes-based court system. That was another thing too. Like they don't have, at least the way this movie presented it, they don't have like procedural rules as strictly as we do.
Right.
So like objecting to things and that process is just so, according to this movie, more just like a feeling. Anyway,
I think Louisiana courts are very similar. I think.
Really?
Yeah,
that would make sense
because
there's
the
a
French
influence. Yeah,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because most states follow English common law, that system.
Sure.
And yeah,
Saint Omer has 0.1% higher ranking than Little Mermaid remake.
Oh, so it's better
by 0.1%, by 0.1 star.
That's good. That's
where,
strong.
Where were we on this list?
I just did my number 2, My Cousin Vinny.
My number 2, previously mentioned Wizard of Oz.
Nice. I don't know why I didn't think Wizard of Oz. I like that movie a lot, and I never hit my brain that's fish out of the water. But
it's not really a comedy
is.
per se.
Sure, but not all these were comedies.
No, but I think a lot of people are going to comedies for you commonly go to. I feel like this is a comedy genre for the most part.
Yeah. My number 1, and I'm curious if it's everyone's number 1, is from 1985. It's Back to the Future, which is about a guy who time travels and we got some head shakes. All right, good. Guy who travels back to the. It's a reverse Austin Powers, I would say, and
I think it's a reverse Demolition Man.
Sure, it's a reverse Demolition Man, and it's a lot about a guy from a different time period living in a new time period and trying to figure things out and acclimate, fit in, and also get something done. And it's funny and adventurous and a movie I love anyway. that also happens to be a fish out of water story. My number one.
Well, for all those reasons, that's why it's my number one as well.
Right. Kyle?
And for all those reasons, that would be my number one, but I thought that was just a boring pick. And Back to the Future comes up in the show all the time. So instead, I chose Some Like It Hot as my number one.
All right.
Kyle, you kept us from a super bingo.
Yeah, because you know what? The
all three
people
and positions
want variety.
No, they want a super bingo.
Carl?
You didn't give us variety. You gave us Some Like It Hot, which was my number 3.
Well, I didn't know you were going to do that.
Well,
But I did know we were all going to pick
intentions.
Back to the Future. So,
Carl?
Super. Carl's not here right now. Carl, what? I don't remember saying that one. Carl's not here right now. Most of the time when you play clips of me, I can pinpoint when I said it, but that one, no memory whatsoever.
Carl? James.
Anyway, Some Like It Hot.
Some Like It Hot, number 1. Nice.
Yes, number 1.
All right.
Nice.
I guess I need to see Some Like It Hot too.
Yeah, you do. And then
That's
watch
what's her name, right? Marilyn Monroe?
Marilyn Monroe, Tony Curtis, and Jack Lemmon. Directed by Billy Wilder.
I once had all the Marilyn Monroe movies on Blu-ray in one collection.
Oh, did you sell it?
And I priced it at a ridiculously high price, hoping that it wouldn't sell. But if it did, it was good money. And then it sold. I was like, oh man, I kind of didn't want to sell this, but if you're going to give me way more than it's worth, then all right, I guess I'll sell it. So yeah, so now I don't have those anymore. Kind of bummed about it.
Bro.
I'll bump it up my list. It's already been on my watch list, but what should I watch first? My Cousin Vinny or Some Like It Hot?
I think you'll like My Cousin Vinny more.
Kyle?
I think Some Like It Hot is funnier, but I agree you'll probably like My Cousin Vinny more because it's more recent and in color.
I don't have a problem with black and white. I have a problem with stage play presentation. Those just happen to be a lot of black and white movies. So the black and white does not bother me at all.
I mean, Some Like It Hot is not too stage play. Like, it's definitely using locations.
Right.
But you're not getting modern camera movements like you're getting with My Cousin Vinny.
It's not the black and white about those old movies that bothers me at all.
It's the gray.
Yeah, it's the gray in the middle. If they were pure black and pure white, I'd have literally no problem with it.
All right, let's dive into that, James. Tell us more about how you want to segregate the colors of your movies.
No, I want to integrate them. That's what I'm saying.
No, you're talking about the purity of them.
Yeah. All right. Thank you for joining us for our top 10 fish out of water films. We appreciate your listenership, and hopefully that was fun to listen to. It was fun to record. So don't forget, you can always send us an email to heyguys@cinereelists.com. Send a comment, question, list, suggestion, any of those kinds of things. Let us know if Little Mermaid 2023 is a cash grab or just a good version of a thing that was already good. Another good version of a thing that was already good. Was that how you would describe it, Zach?
It wasn't not how I describe it.
It was not a bad version of a thing that was.
that was making fun of you, James.
I know. It was good. I liked it. I liked it for sure. You could also support us on Patreon, patreon.com. Leave us an Apple Podcast review. We'd appreciate that. Or follow us on social media on Facebook, TikTok, Letterboxd, or Instagram at Cinereelists. Or you can follow me on my personal Letterboxd or Twitter account at YoJRB.
You can follow me on Twitter or Letterboxd at Shaubin.
You can find me on Letterboxd at Peter SKB.
Next week, we will be back probably with Spider-Man: Across the Universe, which I've already seen and I can't wait to discuss.
Ditto.
So we'll see you guys there. Until then, keep it cinereal.
You're still here? It's over. Go home. Go.